The language of Qur'an, easier than English, lesson 12, part 2. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to lesson number 12, part 2. In part 1, we introduced you to the topic of demonstratives, i.e. words that are used for pointing. I showed you the 6 most important ones that you need to learn to get a mastery of their uses in the Qur'an, and also the fact that they're used in the Qur'an more than 1,000 times. So you'll find 1 or 2 in every page. We also learned the demonstrative phrase, which is something new, and it's part of the list of the phrases that we need to learn to begin to understand the Qur'an in Arabic. In this session, inshallah, we're going to begin by first of all looking at the i'rab of the demonstrative phrase, murakkab ishari, and we're going to look at how they're used with the Idafah. There's some complexities in that, inshallah, and I will attempt to explain that to you in the best way that I can, and also jumlah ismiyyah and the pronouns of separation. As I said, I'm splitting the videos because some of you prefer shorter videos, inshallah ta'ala. But let's see how far we can get in this lesson looking at demonstratives. So let us begin with the blessed name of Allah. Rabbi zidni ilma, O my Lord, increase me in knowledge. Recognizing the i'rab of the demonstrative phrase, I have 3 constructs for you. In the first one, I have hadha al-masjidu. The second one, hadha al-masjida. And the third one, hadha al-masjidi. So please note, in all 3, there are slight difference at the end. The first one, of course, we can say, we know that it is definite. And we're going to assume it's in Rafa, because this one copies the i'rab of the noun being pointed. So since this is Rafa, we're going to say, this is going to be also marfu'. They're both marfu'. And of course, this is a demonstrative phrase. Why? Because after the pointing word, I have al. So please note that after the pointing word having al, afterwards, this is your demonstrative phrase. So if I say that this is Rafa, which I know, and then this is also Rafa, so we have here now a demonstrative phrase. So they copying each other. The translation of that will be simply this mosque, this mosque. So if you write that down, the first one, this mosque. Now, as far as the second one is concerned, I've got it, but I've got fatha, the Y. So let me put something in front of it so we can make sense. Ra'aytu, I saw. Therefore, now, if you remember from what we've done, all these lessons, exactly the same example. Instead of having, for example, Ra'aytu al-mu'allima, I saw the teacher, for example, I've got hadha. So hadha, I'm going to say, is nasab. And this is indicated by here because this one is copying the i'rab of the word, pointing word. So here, this is nasab because it is the object. So the translation would be, I saw this mosque. I saw this mosque. Again, write the translation down if you need to do so. So this is nasab, and we know this is nasab because it's got a fatha at the end of it. And always note that the Musharun Ilayhi, the noun being pointed to, will copy the i'rab of the Ismul Isharah. You cannot tell the i'rab of the Ismul Isharah because it is mabni. You cannot tell, but the situation will tell us what it is. So in this case, it is the object, and therefore it is nasab. And of course, the Musharun Ilayhi is also nasab. So the way you tell its i'rab is by looking before and after it. In the after, the Musharun Ilayhi, if it is mu'rab, will indicate the i'rab of the whole structure. Now, this last example, okay, sallaytu, I prayed, fi, I prayed in, again after fi. So this is your ism majroor, as we've been calling it, the noun that appears after the harf of jar. So fi in, so this has to be jar, right? There's no question asked. It's mabni, does not change, but we know it's jar because it's coming after harf of jar. So therefore, this one will copy, again, as you can see, the i'rab of the pointing word. And we know the word pointing word, hadha, is jar because of fi. So, sallaytu, I prayed, fi, this, in, hadha, this, al-masjidi, mosque. So I prayed in this mosque. So first one, this mosque only is a phrase, not a sentence. The second one is jumlah fi'aliyah. I saw this mosque. Third one is also a sentence. It's got 3 components in it. The first being I, the verb. I prayed in this mosque. So in is a harf of jar, and the hadha is your ism majroor. and the Musharun, which is also the Ismul Ishara, and Musharun Ilayhi is copying the i'rab. I hope this makes sense, inshallah ta'ala. Write these three sentences down, inshallah, three parts, structures down, and it will make sense to you, inshallah. The complexities will be removed. So please note, the pointing word, the singular and the plural do not change. So their Rafa, Nasab or Jarr, they remain the same. But the Musharun Ilayhi, if it is a word that changes, will show us what the i'rab is, because it is copying the i'rab. So remember, I told you right from the beginning, the i'rab isn't necessarily just the vowel sign at the end. It is more importantly the role, the function that ism is playing in the sentence or the phrase. So in this one, in all of them, we have the ism is actually the Musharun Ilayhi, the noun being pointed to, which does not have its own i'rab. It will copy it from the noun, the pointing word. And the pointing word here, depending on the role it is playing, it will show different i'rab. So the first one is Rafa, the second one is Nasab, and the third one is Jarr. Again, if we follow the lessons in a structured way, this should be relatively easy for you, inshallah. So what I'd like you to do, you know the drill, inshallah. I've done the first one for you. This Muslim came. Okay. Ja'a hadha al-muslimu. Very easy, I hope now, inshallah. Who came? This. So this is going to be Rafa, because it is the doer of the verb. In the same second one, Ra'aytu, I saw. So possibly the object you're looking for afterwards. Sallamtu ala, there's ala. So it has to be majroor. So again, the structure. And then the word Muslims. And again, you should know both of these words, Muslim and Muslimuna. So Muslimun, Muslimuna, and of course Muslimina in Nasab or Jarr. So please complete the task, pause the video, take your time, inshallah, and come back and have a look at the answers. I hope and pray you've done it, and please check your notebooks. It is so important that you actually write and engage. Otherwise, you're not going to learn. This is just going to be another video on YouTube which you listen to and then you forget. So the only way to learn is through practice. So let's quickly go through the answers. They should be very easy. Ja'a hadha al-muslimu. This Muslim came. So here it is the doer. Therefore, Musharun Ilayhi is copying the i'rab of hadha, and we know the Musharun Ilayhi is Rafa marfu because of the Dhamma. Ra'aytu. What do I need to say? Hadha al-muslima. Why? Because hadha here now is the object. Sallamtu ala hadha al-muslimi. Again, it is Jarr. Why? Because coming after ala. And please note again, I repeat, so that you will not forget, hadha does not change no matter what the i'rab is. Rafa, Nasab or Jarr, it is constantly the same, and that is why it is called mabni, the rare 2% of the words that do not change. In the next one, I want to say these Muslims. Remember hadha, and what was the word for these? So hopefully you will get it. Ha'ula'il muslimuna. Again, this is Rafa. Why? Because it is the doer. Ra'aytu. Again, I'll have ha'ula'i al-muslimina. Ha'ula'il muslimina. Why? It is Nasab. Why will it be Nasab? Because it is the object. Sallamtu ala. And I hope, inshallah, I've got this one right also. Ha'ula'il muslimina. Why are they both the same? Well, they remain the same in Nasab and Jarr. When we've done this in lesson number 4. So you can see ha'ula'i has got a kasra, but does not mean it is Jarr. In the first one, it is Nasab, Rafa. In the second one, it is Nasab. And the third one, it is Jarr. So whether it is marfu, mansub or majroor, in all three, it remains E. So again, right at the beginning, I did warn you that if you can get confused that the Jarr is always kasra, then you will be confused. Here, the ha'ula'i does not change. Hadha does not change. Therefore, we need to look at the following. Again, when the second example, we can say Muslimina is Nasab. Why? Because it is object. And Muslimina is Jarr because it is coming after ala. So this is your Nasab. Okay, this is Jarr, and of course this is Rafa because it is the doer. So simple principles, inshallah, and this is how structured the language is. We will learn it one step at a time, but this example will help you remember the recognition of i'rab of a murakkab ishari. It is based upon the context, and inshallah ta'ala, I hope these sets will make that clear for you. Another exercise for you to do, this time feminine. Again, remember I told you so many times, and repeat again, that when the doer is feminine, the verb you have to change to feminine form. So ja'a becomes ja'at. Okay, ja'a becomes ja'at. And هذه المسلمات, of course, هذه pointing to a female Muslim. So I can't say هذا anymore. I hope inshallah ta'ala you can do the rest. So take your time, inshallah, pause the video, you know what to do. I pray you've done the exercises. Let's go through the answers. The first one, جاءت, came, female. Who? هذه المسلمات. This Muslim female came. رأيت, I saw this female Muslim. رأيت هذه المسلمات. Again, exactly the same. We've done these in the lesson 4 where we learned the lesson 3 masculine feminine, and lesson 4 we learned the plurals of it. And then sallamtu ala هذه المسلمات. هذه المسلمات. Again, two tati reflecting Rafa, Nasab and Jarr. Marfu, Mansub and Majroor. You can see that very, very clearly, inshallah. Now we got a complexity here. We need to say Muslims, plural. I hope you know the word for female Muslims, plural. We've done that again many, many times, but it is هؤلاء. هؤلاء. Now, هذا pointing to male, هذه pointing to female, but هؤلاء is pointing to whether male or female. It will be exactly the same. So, inshallah ta'ala, you can see here, جاءت هؤلاء المسلمات. Again, remember how the feminine plurals end in Arabic. And رأيت هؤلاء المسلمات. Again, why? Because in Nasab, it is atun in Rafa, atin in Nasab. And of course, because of al, the tanween disappears, we have a single kasra. So again, it's a kasra here, but it is Nasab. Why? Because these are the special cases. And in this case, the feminine plural, sound feminine plural ends this way, atin. But because of al, one kasra has been removed. Sallamtu ala haula'il muslimati. Exactly the same principle. It is kasra, it is jar. Why is it jar? Because it's coming after ala, and it is ism majroor, the haula'i bit, and it's copying it. So haula'i is ismul ishara, and al muslimati is the noun that is being pointing to. Of course, in this case, it is plural. So again, atun, Rafa, atin, nasab, atin, jar. So again, we have a similar to what we have seen before, inshallah ta'ala. So I hope all of this is making sense. So please note the following points. Number one, the pointing words, singular and the plural, they're mabni. They will not change. Their i'rab will be based upon the role, the function they're playing in the sentence. And the way they express i'rab is by not changing, because they're mabni. Therefore, the Musharun Ilayhi, if it changes, and depends on how it changes, it will reflect the i'rab. And you can see that very, very clearly in these 6 examples and the ones we used before. Apart from these examples, the only other thing for you to remember, and I've done so many examples of this already, if it's a broken plural, non-aqil, then you will treat it as singular feminine. If it's an aqil and it's a broken plural, you have the right to choose either singular feminine or as it is. That's the only other thing to add here. Otherwise, the principles are the same. Again, please do write these 6 examples down in your notebook. Pointing to Idafah. Al-Idafah construct, or the Mudaf, Mudaf Ilayhi, we went through it in detail in lesson 10 and 11, and I think is one of the most important lessons for us 8, 9, 10, 11, because these are the most commonly used constructs. Of course, they're also used with pointing words. So how do we get around that? First, let us review how the Idafah works. It has 2 parts, Mudaf and Mudaf Ilayhi. So that's the easy bit. Mudaf can be any i'rab, Rafa, Nasab or Jarr, depends on the context that it is being used, but Mudaf Ilayhi is always majroor. The second point to note is there is no gap allowed, meaning nothing else can come between the Mudaf and the Mudaf Ilayhi. It is fixed. So here I translated as a teacher's house. Why a teacher's house? Because al-muallimin is indefinite. Indefinite. If on the other hand, I want to say the teacher's house, is exactly the same principle. Baytul muallimi. Baytul muallimi. This is the teacher's house. Again, we have the mudaf We have the Mudaf Ilayhi. Mudaf can be anything, Rafa, Nasab or Jarr, depending on how it's used. And we've seen already that they can be used as Mubtada or Khabar. In this case, you can see they're just on their own. So Baytul Muallimi, the teacher's house. So these are the two constructs that you already know, you should be familiar with. If you want to review the rules, please go back and see lesson number 10 and 11 of the lessons that we did on the Idafah. It's a very, very important lesson. Alhamdulillah, the Idafah construct should be relatively easy for us. We know how to say a teacher's house or the teacher's house, inshallah, by now. But I want to say this house of the teacher. Please pay attention what's going on here. I'm actually using the word this to point to the house. Okay, the house, not the teacher. I'm not saying this teacher's house. I'm saying this house of the teacher. How do I do that in Arabic? If I just write Baytul Muallimi, I'll end up with my Mudaf and the Mudaf Ilayhi. Please note, I need to point now to house. Okay, using the word Hadha, I need to point to this. So if I write now with the word Hadha here, Hadha, I have a problem because this is actually a full sentence in Arabic. This is your Mubtada. Okay, and this will become your Khabar. Khabar. Mubtada and Khabar makes a complete sentence. What is the Mubtada? Definite, Rafa, and the Khabar here is a Murakkab Idafi. And of course, the reason why Baytu, because Khabar is Rafa. So Baytul Muallimi, Hadha Baytul Muallimi is translated as this is the teacher's house. This is the teacher's house. So in Arabic, I cannot do that. I cannot put Hadha in the front. Otherwise, it will not make sense. The second problem with putting Hadha in the front is that I have to say, to make it a demonstrative, I have to put al. Let me change the color so you can see it very clearly. I have to put al here. I have to put al. If I put al in front, then it becomes Hadha al-baytu al-muallimi does not make any sense in the Arabic language. So I cannot use al because the mudaf, it still needs to remain mudaf because it's the teacher's house of the teacher. Therefore, the mudaf cannot take al. So it doesn't make sense and you just can't do it because the mudaf cannot take al as a general rule in Arabic. So what do we do in such circumstances? In order to say this house, and please note, very, very important, only when I'm pointing to the mudaf, not the Mudaf Ilayhi. We'll look at that next, inshallah. When I'm pointing to the Mudaf, so this house of the teacher, this car of the lady, this pen of the student, anything like that, or this shirt of mine, or this jacket of mine, anything of that nature, where I'm pointing to the Mudaf, the only way to do that in Arabic is to put the pointing word, Ismul Isharah, at the end. So it will be Baytul Muallimi Hadha. It's the only way to do it. So this is your Ismul Isharah, and what is it pointing to? It is pointing to the Mudaf. Okay, write it down a couple of times, inshallah ta'ala, it will make sense. So this is the most important to note. When I'm pointing to the Mudaf, the Ismul Isharah will come at the end. At the end. And this now makes perfect sense in Arabic. This house of the teacher. Let's quickly review what we've done so far so we can remove confusion, inshallah. Baytu, house. Muallimin, a teacher's house. Baytul Muallimi, the teacher's house. I hope that makes sense, inshallah. And when I put Hadha in the front and I got the Idafah construct afterwards, it is not pointing because there's no al in the bayt. And of course, this is a complete sentence. Hadha Baytul Muallimi, this is the teacher's house. Hope this is clear, inshallah. If I want to say this house of the teacher, I have to say Baytul Muallimi Hadha. And please note, if the demonstrative were to come in the front, this would be a jumlah ismiyyah. So we need to pay special attention to the construct to be able to correctly analyze and translate the structures that we come across in Arabic. So let's now, inshallah, see how well you've learned the topic. Please complete the following exercises. There is some complexities in here. For example, this car of Zaid. This car of Zaid. Zaid car, Sayyaratun, I've written it there just in case you've forgotten it. And this pen of mine. My pen in Arabic will be qalami. Please remember that, inshallah. This school of ours, our school would be madrasatuna, our school. So please complete the 4 examples on the screen pause the video. Please make sure you write it down. Don't worry about making mistakes. This is the easiest way to learn, is to make as many mistakes as possible. Don't worry about it, inshallah. The more mistakes you make, the quicker you learn. So please be confident. Bismillah, tawakkal ala Allah. Do the exercise and come back after you complete it. I hope you've done the exercise. Let's quickly go to the answers. This car of Zaid will be Sayyaratu Zaidin Hadihi. Why Hadihi? Because the car is feminine. It's coming after because I'm pointing to the car, which is the Mudaf. This pen of mine. Qalami, my pen. So I want to say Qalami Hadha. Qalam is masculine. Qalami Hadha. And this school of ours. This school of ours. Madrasatuna. Our school, remember, madrasa is singular, one school. Madrasatuna, our school. The na is our. It is the attached pronoun. Hadihi. Why hadihi? Because school is feminine and I'm pointing to the school. I hope inshallah ta'ala you've done the exercises. Don't worry about making mistakes. Write them down inshallah ta'ala in your notebook. And when you come back to review, these 4 will be enough for you to practice this rule. The next example is easier when we point to the Mudaf Ilayhi. So I don't need to go through the steps that much, but inshallah ta'ala, this screen will help you complete that rule quite simply. Now here, instead, first I said this house of the teacher. You can see here, I'm pointing to, in this case, house. So that's very clear. I'm pointing to the house. So therefore, I have to bring it at the end. But now I want to say the house of this teacher. Now, please make a note that this teacher in itself is the Murakkab Ishari. So how do I do that? So what I do is I put the Hadha al-Muallimi as my construct. That is your Murakkab Ishari. Baytu is my Mudaf. And Hadha in this case is my Mudaf Ilayhi. And al-Muallimi is following the i'rab of that because the Mudaf Ilayhi is Jarr. And in itself is Jarr. So here what do I have? I have the Ismul Isharah pointing to the Musharun Ilayhi. So that is my Murakkab Ishari. And here the Murakkab Ishari itself is the Mudaf Ilayhi. So that is the whole thing together we can say is the Mudaf Ilayhi. So Baytu, house, Mudaf. Mudaf Ilayhi, Hadha al-Muallimi, which self is split up into 2 parts. The Ismul Ishara, which is this one, and the Musharun Ilayhi. So this is easy. If I'm pointing to the Mudaf Ilayhi, I simply create the Murakkab Ishari and I put the Mudaf in front. And that was easy to put the Mudaf in front. Very, very simple. You follow the basic rule of Idafah, meaning no al and no tanween. And if there is other bits and pieces that you need to set up, you do. They based upon the rules of the Idafah. Please have a look at lesson number 9 and 10 and 11 for full details. So I hope inshallah this examples is easier for you than the previous one. Let's do another exercise. This one should be very easy for you, inshallah. First, of course, I've given you the first example, which is very easy for you. The second one, book of this teacher. Remember looking for the female teacher here. Just be careful. House of these women. Nisa is there at the top. So please translate and write the notes, examples down. Pause the video and take your time, inshallah. Now let's quickly look at the answer. Book of this teacher. I will say first of all book and then of course this teacher. Kitabu hadhihi al-muallimati. Hadhihi al-muallimati. Remember hadhihi now is the mudaf, but here hadhihi is the pointing word, sorry, it is the mudaf ilayhi. Kitabu and hadhihi is jar and al-muallimati is also jar. The house of these women, haula'i nisa'i. Again haula'i here. Baytu, Mudaf, Mudaf Ilayhi, which is your Ismul Isharah, and this is your Musharun Ilayhi. And of course, it is Jarr because it is copying the i'rab of this. And i'rab of Mudaf Ilayhi is always Majroor. And of course, we can see this here, inshallah. So, summary of all the structures we looked at so far. First of all, I have Baytu, Muallimin, a teacher's house. Baytul Muallimi, the teacher's house. Hadha baytul muallimi. Of course, it is a complete sentence. This is the teacher's house. And then we have the last 2 example. Baytu muallimi hadha, this house of the teacher. And baytu hadha al muallimi, this house of the house of this teacher, I should say. So I hope inshallah ta'ala write these 4 down. Do the diagram as well. Inshallah, they will help you and they will help you to remember. And this is how we can remove the complexity. And it's like everything else in life, I mentioned many times, nothing is complex. If you keep on doing the exercise, it will become easier, inshallah ta'ala. It is our duty as teachers to try and make it as simple as possible for you, but it is your duty to do the exercises. If you don't do the exercises, no matter how much effort we make, you will not learn. So please make sure that you've done the exercise and you're benefiting. Do give us feedback how you're getting on, inshallah. Jumlah ismiyyah with demonstratives. You're already familiar with the rules of the nominal sentence, jumlah ismiyyah in Arabic. It has two parts, Mubtada and the Khabar. So there is nothing here new, and it is exactly the same what we've been doing so far. The Mubtada is the first part, usually definite and comes at the beginning, and of course Rafa, and the Khabar is also Rafa, but it is normally indefinite. And these are the basic structure of the sentence. And of course, the four properties we've done from lesson right at the beginning. The four properties, we spent a lot of time on them in the first four lessons: definiteness, gender, number, and i'rab. Of course, it is definite and indefinite. Both of them are Rafa, and the gender and the number need to match. So we need to observe the same principles, same rules when it comes to using the Ismul Isharah or the pointing words as our Mubtada. So very simple, inshallah ta'ala, we will match. So this part should be relatively easy for you. And of course, between the Mubtada and the Khabar, we put is, or are, as required in the English language. These words do not exist in Arabic. So I'm quickly going to show you 6 sets of words, which hopefully, inshallah, will review all the rules that we've learned so far. So for example, I say, Hadha Muslimun. This is a Muslim. If I wanted to talk about a female, I would say Hadihi Muslimatun. Again, please note the Mubtada and the Khabar and the relationship between them. Indefinite, indefinite. If it had al in front, of course, it will become the Murakkab Ishari, which we've learned previously. Haulai Muslimuna. These are Muslims, and the feminine version Haulai Muslimatun. Again, the plural feminine. Same thing with pointing far away. Dhalika Muslimun, Tilka Muslimatun. And of course, we have Ulaika Muslimuna. And of course, exactly the same. Ulaika Muslimatun. The plurals are used for both masculine and feminine, which you can see on the screen. Do write these examples down, inshallah, in your notebooks, and you'll be able to quickly learn this. There is nothing new here in this subtopic of this lesson. The only thing, again, to remember with broken plurals, which are non-aqil, you have to treat them as singular feminine. With aqil, you have the option. But just a couple of examples here will do. Hadha babun. This is a door. But if I want to say these are doors, I will say hadihi abwabun. Why hadihi? Even though it's masculine, it is a broken plural. It will be treated as singular feminine. Next, we have hadihi darun. Again, I'm using hadihi, even though because it is feminine, I should say. This word darun is feminine as one of the miscellaneous words. Go back to lesson number 4 if you've forgotten that already. Hadihi diyarun. Even though it is feminine, plural, I'm using a singular feminine. And so in Arabic, singular feminine, if it is a broken plural of non-aqil. There is an exception. With aqil, you can treat both. So again, these 6 sets will make it very, very clear for you, inshallah ta'ala, how to use them in simple sentences with the pointing words. Simple sentences, inshallah, these should be relatively easy for you to do. And the word believer, you should know, is mu'min, and you should know how to make a plural. Mosques, remember the plural of mosques, inshallah, mosque. Masajidu, and of course schools, madarisu. So inshallah, shouldn't have any problems forming simple sentences. Those I want feminine is with the bracket F, and those that you should know are feminine are not indicated. So please make sure that you follow the rules as we've gone through repeatedly throughout the lessons. Pause the video, take your time, inshallah, and come back when the task is complete. So let's quickly go through the answers. This is a believer. Simply, it will be hadihi mu'minatun. Shouldn't be any difficulty in that. These are believers. Haulai mu'minuna. And those are believers. Those I'm pointing far away. So it will be ulaika mu'minatun. Please note the why, because it's far away. These are mosques. These, close by. Mosques, of course, is a broken plural. So what do we do? Hadihi masajidu, masajidu. So these are mosques. Remember the word mosque is ghayru munsarif. Again, please review, I believe, lesson number 7, where we went through that in detail, meaning it does not take tanween. So it will be masajidu, masajida, masajida. Those are schools, I should say. Tilka madarisu. Tilka madarisu. Singular feminine. Why? Because masajidu and madarisu, even though masjid singular is masculine, here they're all used, or they're both used and treated as feminine singular, even though they're plurals. And one masjid being masculine, the other one being feminine, it doesn't matter. Broken plurals of non-aqil are treated as singular feminine. I hope you got the answers, and please don't worry if you made a mistake. The only way to learn is through making mistakes. The only time you should worry is if you're not doing the exercises. Jumlah ismiyyah and murakkab ishari, the differences between them. The difference between the two should be very clear already, but I just thought I'd give you a session here so that you can solidify your knowledge, inshallah ta'ala. So the first example is this boy, hadha al-waladu. Here the boy word is the boy, and it has al. So in Arabic it fulfills the condition of being murakkab ishari, and therefore it is murakkab ishari. You label it as Ismul Isharati and Musharun Ilayhi. So this is not a sentence. This boy is not a complete sentence, just a phrase. Whereas hadha waladun is a complete sentence. Why? Because we have our mubtada and we have our khabar, and the khabar is indefinite. There is no al there and so on. So hadha waladun. So if you understand the difference between the two, inshallah, it will make the next bits that we're going to learn a lot easier, even though this point is simple and has already been illustrated. I thought I'd include this just to clarify and remove any confusion. So murakkab ishari can only be first word being a pointing word, hadha, hadihi, haulai, dhalika, tilka, ulaika, and the duals, of course, which are rare. But that's all. The musharun ilayhi must be with al. Otherwise, it will not be an ismul isha. It will not be a demonstrative phrase. So I hope this bit is easy. Inshallah, let's look at a couple of examples that re-illustrates the point. Hadha qalamun, this is a pen. Hadha al-qalamu, this pen. Dhalika baytun, that is a house. Dhalika al-baytu, that house. Again, I hope inshallah ta'ala you are clear on this point. Using the murakkab ishari as the subject of a jumlah ismiyyah. Now, I've given you these illustrated examples on the screen for you just to clarify what is going on, and I hope this is very easy. In the first one, I have hadha kitabun, which is the examples we've been doing so many times. This is a book. But if I say hadha al-kitabu, this book, jadidun. Jadidun now becomes my khabar. Hadha al-kitabu, even though it's two words, it's my mubtada. And my mubtada ends there. Khabar starts with jadidun. Of course, the khabar can be many things, but here it is a single word. Then I say hadhihi al-madrasatu. Again, that is my murakkab ishari because al is there. Okay, jadidatun is new. Again, this is the khabar. Hadhihi, this, madrasatun, jadidatun. So again, I have my mubtada, which is a single word, and madrasatun, jadidatun is, of course, a murakkab tawsifi. It is a descriptive phrase. So you can see how the mubtada can be a single word. Here, it can also be a murakkab ishari. Murakkab ishari. Please note, the murakkab ishari or the ismul isharah does not really become a khabar. In most cases, this is like this. It's used in other cases in different situations. We'll look later, but generally you see it as either a phrase or a single word, which is your mubtada in a jumlah ismiyyah. So please note these examples down, inshallah, and they will illustrate now. Of course, in normal writing, you will not see the line in the middle for you to divide the mubtada and khabar, but again, following the rules, you'll be able to say, okay, my mubtada ends here, my khabar is here. Because the whole thing is hadha al-kitabu is, of course, this book. But if I say hadha al-kitabu al-jadidu, this new book. Okay? But after the hadha al-kitabu al-jadidu, al-jadidu, I can say something else, and that will become my khabar. So hadha al-kitabu al-jadidu, this new book. Then I say something else like mufidun, beneficial. So you can see here how you have to pay attention to the structure and construct to be able to translate correctly. I hope these examples, inshallah, again, is of benefit, do write them down. And if you have any complexity only on this topic, inshallah, do give us feedback. Examples of khabar being definite. We know that the khabar is indefinite normally, and we've done many examples of it. The first one on the screen, you can see, Ana talibun, I am a student. Not the student, a student. So the khabar here is, the predicate is indefinite. So this is very easy, inshallah. But I can also, as we've seen in lesson number 5, when the subject is a pronoun, detached pronoun, the Rafa pronoun, huwa, I can say huwa hamidun. The predicate can be, the khabar can be a proper noun. So of course we have here the hamidun, which is definite, and of course it is Rafa. So you can see here I can have situations where the predicate can be definite, and this is one. So huwa hamidun. For example, in the Qur'an you find ana Yusufu, and I am Yusuf alayhi salam. So you can see examples like that throughout. So if the proper noun comes after a pronoun, Rafa pronoun, it will be a sentence, and it can be definite because it is a proper noun. Now if I want to say she is the student, female, she is the third student, I can also use the same principle, hiya talibatu. Again, you can see it's definite and Rafa, and this is perfectly allowed. So when we have the subject as a pronoun, there are two side flexing of the rules, as I call it, in the sense that when the pronoun is the subject, the predicate can be a proper noun, or it can begin with al, At-talibatu, you can see here, is your khabar. So these are your two, you can call it exceptions, but really these are side rules. So huwa, here, of course, it could be any of the pronouns. After that, if you have a proper noun, it is always a sentence, mubtada and khabar, or if it begins with al. So this is with proper nouns. So these are the exceptions we've already covered in lesson number 5. So in summary, when the mubtada is a detached Rafa pronoun, then the khabar can be the proper noun, a proper noun, definite, or a noun made definite by al. These are the only two situations where with the pronoun we can have the khabar as definite. In the first example, I have hadha al-masjidu, this mosque. This should be very easy for you now. And I can of course say full sentence. I will have hadha masjidun, this is a mosque. So this is a mosque is made up of your mubtada and your khabar. And of course it is your jumlah ismiyyah. But here I can also say this is hamid. Please note now, I'm using a definite khabar. Okay, definite and Rafa, hadha hamidun. Again, that was also your mubtada and your khabar, and it is also jumlah ismiyyah. So again, please make a note. There's another rule here, that if the word after the Ismul Isharah is a proper noun, it will be khabar. Not as we see in the first example, Ismul Isharah and Musharun Ilayhi. Musharun Ilayhi is always with al after the pointing word, and that's where the confusion will be removed. So, hadha hamidun, this is hamid. Okay, this is hamid, a complete sentence. Hamidun being a proper noun. So in summary, when can the subject, the khabar, can be definite? Here, two examples. First, hiya talibatu, again when it begins with al after a pronoun. Please note, after a pronoun which is detached Rafa pronoun. Huwa zaidun, he is Zaid. Two examples seen. When we have the pointing words like hadha, hadihi, dhalika, in all of those cases, only with the proper noun, they can be definite and still be a sentence. So, hadha hamidun, this is Hamid. Hadihi Maryamu, this is Maryam. And dhalika Isa, I've taken this from the Qur'an, that is Isa. That is Isa. Again, you can see that examples, inshallah ta'ala, 3. They're all the same thing. The pointing word followed by a proper noun. Proper noun is a name of a specific person, place, etc., as we've covered in lesson number 2. So these are the exceptions so far where the khabar can be definite. Please make a note of them. Look at the two examples on the screen just to illustrate another side rule which is quite interesting. In the first example, I'm saying a sentence. Hadha Zaidun. This is Zaid. Very easy. Alhamdulillah. Because we've done the now that it can be definite, so not a problem. But I want to say this Zaid. Remember, there could be a room of 10 Zaids, but I want this one. So I point to your picture. I say, I want you to get me this Zaid, right? This Zaid. Now here is the problem. It is not a sentence. It is not this is Zaid. This Zaid is now the one that I'm pointing to. Now, of course, if I put hadha in the front, it becomes a jumlah ismiyyah. So in this case, we bring it to the end. So Ismul isharati muakhar. Okay, the pointing word coming at the end is the terminology used. So Zaidun hadha, this Zaid. Okay, so I can say the same thing here. For example, Hamidun hadha, Ibrahimu hadha, this Ibrahim, etc. So I want to point to a specific proper noun. So please note here the changes we've gone through here and this last example. So if you remember and recall these rules, inshallah ta'ala, when you come across them, they should be second nature to you. By the blessings and grace of Allah Azza wa Jal, we've concluded the second video. Again, as I said, I'm going to be splitting them to make it easier for you, and there'll be shorter videos rather than one prolonged video covering all the topics that I can. Again, please do give us your feedback, whether you're seeing certain things that can be improved. I will do my level best. Making these videos have been a bit of a struggle, but inshallah, I'm getting back on the swing now. Hopefully, I'll be able to complete this series by the mercy and the help of Allah Azza wa Jal very shortly. We're on lesson 12. We're going to go to lesson 15, inshallah, and then the first set will be complete. And after that, bi'idhnillah, we'll start with book 2, where we're going to look at verbs, etc. So in this lesson, brothers and sisters, we've covered the i'rab of murakkab ishari. We've covered the pointing to Idafah, whether you point to the Mudaf or the Mudaf Ilayhi in some detail. And of course, we looked at the variations within the jumlah ismiyyah, where the pointing words can be used. And of course, there are some topics left, which is like the pronouns of separation and few others, and with some Quranic examples, which I'll cover inshallah in the next video. And again, I want to take this opportunity to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the many du'as that you're sending me, your message of support and other support that you're giving. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you with the very best in this world and the hereafter. I cannot do much more than make dua for you, because I do not know who you are, where are you from, but from the whole world I'm getting messages, and I'm grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal that you are finding these videos of benefit. They've been designed really to help you learn, and in the hope that you'll be able to teach in your local mosques and community centers, in your houses, the basics of the Arabic, so we can create a Quranic generation that, including myself, may Allah bless me also, to be able to contribute to the learning and to the understanding of Qur'an. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept our humble efforts and forgive our mistakes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you with the very best in this world and the hereafter. Until the next video, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
الذي علم بالقلم